Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Halcyon PWT podcast. I'm your host, Lorne Risley, and current, reigning, defending, undisputed, undefeatable heavyweight champion of the world. And on this podcast, let's take a look at the upcoming Survivor Series pay-per-view, which airs tonight. I don't know whether or not I'm going to be able to stay awake long enough to be able to watch it, so let's just get the predictions out of the way now and let the hate flow through you as the results come in over the course of the night. So let's wrap up the matches as quickly as we can, because on paper, this Survivor Series has a lot going for it, but I get a sneaky suspicion they'll balls it up. So, first match I've got here is Enzo Amore versus Kalisto. I suspect very strongly, considering that it's for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship, that Kalisto has literally nothing to offer, unless of course there's some kind of run-in with Neville, if they've managed to work out his contract situation out, that Enzo Amore will emerge triumphant here. Not really a tremendous amount to say about that. As with the next match, The Miz, the Intercontinental Champion, with Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas, the, Miz Taraj. Oh, Jesus Christ, that's such a stupid name. Versus the United States Champion, Baron Corbin. I've got Miz going over here. Simply put, he has more to offer the company. I suspect Baron Corbin is still somewhat reeling from his Money in the Bank cash-in fiasco, whatever happened backstage that cost him it. Who knows? It's just a waste of a storyline by the looks of things. Whatever happened, surely it could have been resolved off screen, but WWE is weird for punishing itself by punishing its participants sometimes. Anywho, moving on. I've got a series of matches here, all of which are kind of difficult because you've got to then decide who you want to win over the course of the night, rather than not just in terms of the match. I mean, Enzo Amore and Kalisto, because the cruiserweights I think are predominantly shown on SmackDown. Technically speaking, that counts as a win for SmackDown. The Miz is on Raw, so I've got one each for Raw and SmackDown so far. So now I've got to decide effectively over the next couple of matches who I think will win overall, even though there are an even number of matches by the looks of things. Anywho, Raw Women's Championship match. Alexa Bliss versus the SmackDown Women's Championship holder, Charlotte Flair. I've got Charlotte Flair going over here. It's a non-title match, so there's nothing but bragging rights here. But Charlotte Flair's so far ahead of Alexa Bliss in terms of promo, in terms of in-ring ability, and in terms of credibility. I mean, Alexa Bliss, don't get me wrong, is a very credible champion. I just think, I don't know, I just have a feeling Charlotte Flair will come away with this. But then again, I'm picking heel because it's a heel versus heel match with Miz and Corbin. Face, so maybe it'll be a heel show, I don't know. So coming up next, we've got the Tag Team Championships. The Raw Tag Team Champions, Sheamus and Cesaro, aka The Bar. God. SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Usos, Jay and Jimmy Uso. I have Cesaro and Sheamus going over here. If nothing else, they seem to have the momentum at the moment. They also have more of a physically imposing side to them, and obviously they're now multiple-time tag team champions, which I think has helped building up their credibility to be part of a faction at one point, or to be utilised by a heel champion at some point. So Sheamus and Cesaro going over there. Then we get into the Shield versus New Day. This is so easy to pick. Shield going over, absolutely. This is the first one they're going to actually wrestle. Dean Ambrose, Reigns, and Rollins. Given that Angle had to cover for them at TLC, Triple H actually made an appearance in a house show in England. So, first time that Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins will wrestle together as the Shield for a very long time. Therefore, the New Day are going down. And then we get into the Team Survivor Series matches. Team Raw versus Team SmackDown. So let's start with the women's. Alicia Fox, Nia Jax, Asuka, Sasha Banks and Bayley versus Team SmackDown. Becky Lynch, Carmella, Naomi, Tamina and Natalya. On paper, at least, I would imagine that really Team Raw should have the edge here, but I suspect SmackDown are going to win. I don't know why I get this opinion. I think it's probably got something to do with the fact that someone's talking about Paige making a return, albeit I can't remember. I think it's either Tamina or Talia who's a step in, and then Paige will step in for them on SmackDown and get the win. So I don't know. I just get the impression that even though on paper Team Raw should walk it, Team SmackDown will walk away with the win. The Team Raw men's match: Kurt Angle, Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, and Triple H versus Team SmackDown, a team of Shane McMahon, Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, Shinsuke Nakamura, and John Cena. God. I have Team Raw winning this one. No real reason for it. I guess it's because that just has a more feel good about it. Even though Samoa Joe and Braun Strowman are on it, they seem to have more crowd popping potential, and it was just a shame because I've still been waiting for Shinsuke Nakamura to do something since being called up to the main roster, and he's still not done anything. No belts, no championship wins, no great big wins, no match of the year contenders, no nothing, no great promos, nothing. Same with Bobby Roode. Since he's come up to the main roster, I've heard very little about what he's been getting up to, which is odd because, again, if you watch his NXT entrances, he is an absolute god to the fans. But anyway, all things considered, I've got Team Raw winning this one, which leaves us with the final match of the evening: the Universal Champion Brock Lesnar, with Paul Heyman as manager, and the WWE Champion AJ Styles, fresh off his win over Jinder Mahal. Jinder fucking Mahal. Anyway, it's another non-title match. I have Brock Lesnar going over because they still have to set up Reigns for Mania, or whoever is, liable to take the championship off Lesnar at Mania, since he's gone through Samoa Joe. He's gone through, I can't remember, this is one other person he's gone through recently. Oh God, can't remember. I'm such a wrestling fan. I'm such a good wrestling fan, aren't I? Anyway, just all in all, it'll be a good match. I'm really hopeful that this is the go home and make the fans happy match. No screwy finishes. I just hope it's a really good wrestling match. But Lesnar has to win to carry on, to carry on the momentum up to past the Royal Rumble and into Mania. Anyway, those are my predictions for the wrestling equivalent of an anniversary, because we've got. That made no sense whatsoever. We've got 20 years since the Montreal Screwjob, I guess what I was trying to say there. So I don't know how they're going to work that in somehow, but it is WWE, so you've got to figure they will somehow. Natalia being in a match, I don't know, maybe that's too easy, but at some point someone's getting screwed over and it's going to be, oh my god, it's just at Montreal. In other wrestling news, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Neville is still not back from suspension. Nia Jax is back now. Roman Reigns is back now, both from injury and illness, I believe. In terms of other wrestling news, I've been trying to keep up to date with what's been going on. I will probably do some coverage of the War Games match, if not the entire NXT pay-per-view that just went down. I'm hearing a lot of good things, and I've never actually seen a War Games match, not an original one when WCW were running them, but I will try and make a point of watching this one because everyone's saying it was very, very good. I saw one gif of one move, suplex from the top of one of the cages that looked insane, so I'm going to have to give that a watch for absolute certain. So, Survivor Series, just to recap: Enzo Amore, The Miz, Team SmackDown in the Teams versus Teams match, Charlotte Flair, The Shield, Sheamus and Cesaro, Team Raw in the men's, and Brock Lesnar are my picks for this year's Survivor Series wins. If you want to contend for my championship belt, then put your picks in the comments description below, if and when you can, before the pay-per-view itself begins. I'll try and catch up with another podcast at some point next week, because what I will probably be doing, for those that have been watching the show recently, is I will keep the weekly show news and sport specific in terms of what funny sports there are, and I'll keep the podcast to talk about current events. I want to keep the weekly show as an entertainment based format, and the podcast for when I want to get serious and just rant and rave and not really care if anyone watches. So in terms of wrestling, unless there's a particular news story that makes big news, it won't make its way onto the show, unfortunately. So thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Halcyon PWT podcast. Please like, share, subscribe. Also check out some of the other content creators in the description below. Please watch some of the other videos I've been putting out recently. And be sure to watch WWE's Survivor Series 2017. It promises to be an absolute star-spangled event, and I have no idea now what I'm talking about. So anyways, I'm going to go off now. So thank you very much for listening. You guys take care of yourselves. Check out some of the upcoming videos and some of the previous videos. The weekly show I've put out most recently, I am the most proud of. It's probably the best show I've ever made since I've been making Halcyon in terms of outright entertainment value and production and just overall quality. I'm really, really, really happy with it, and I hope you give it a chance, as well as all the other upcoming content that you'll be getting. You'll be getting daily videos now from now on, hopefully, so we'll see how that works out. Anywho, thank you very much for listening. Please take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.